Hello and welcome to the final Analysing Avatar of Book 2 of Korra, or, you know, a good reason to just stop watching Korra altogether. We are, of course, reviewing everyone's favourite episode of Korra. I don't know, what was this thing called? The Light in the Dark? Yeah. How you feeling, Chris?
Genuinely, for the first, we've done Steven University, we've done, in terms of animation, we've done Steven University, we've done Analysing Avatar.
Yeah, Over the Garden Wall.
Wall. Honestly, genuinely, this is the first time that I'm like, that was bad, man. like, do you know what I mean? Usually I'm like, well, you know, I didn't enjoy this and I didn't love it.
Yeah.
No, that was bad. That was a bad 22 minutes of television. It was just nonsense. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to anyone who loves it or finds the good. And look, I get it. I can probably hear some of those defenses. Tenzin's arc is nice, and him basically telling Korra she's more than the Avatar, and in the same way he's learned over this season that he's more than Aang's son. Like, I get it. I get it. But this episode, well, no, this episode, I'm sorry, I just think is bad. The season as a whole, I would sum up with a number of great ideas executed poorly. This episode, it's just bad. Like, I'm sorry, I think it's nonsense. I don't know. What do you think, Dan? How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's the problem, and I think, you know, forgive me if any of this sounds familiar from the rest of this season. The big issue, I think, really, is that the character stuff and the plot don't really end up joining hands in the way they should.
There was character stuff in that episode?
Yeah. Right at the beginning.
I'm being facetious. Yeah.
We talked about it, and you just covered it then. I think you're right. I think the best thing about this episode, well, there's two things I like about this episode. One of them is just a thing for the very end that I just think it's a really interesting place to leave a season of Korra. So we'll come back to that. And it's one of the things I think of fondly when I think of this season. So there's a thing that happens at the end of the episode that I think is a really interesting choice, but more for that's an interesting idea going forward, doesn't really help this episode. But I think, you know, you've got this issue of, like, so Tenzin comes in, Korra's defeated, it's like, you know, she's at her lowest ebb of this season. She can't access her past lives anymore. The bad guy seemingly is just, you know, running rampant as a big kaiju thing. And Tenzin's plot this season has been so good. We talked about this. The idea that he learned not to keep trying to be his father, but to be himself. And Korra is in the same situation. She also shouldn't be trying to be Aang or any of the past avatars. And what she has to learn here is to be herself. Don't be the Avatar, be Korra, right? And that is a wonderful idea for a storyline. The problem is that doesn't really link into anything that then happens. Because what then occurs is just a bunch of random, ruleless, energy, spirit, avatar nonsense. That's just like, Korra's losing, I think, because the bad guy's colour is covering her. Okay, now Janora's here, and now Korra's winning again. What did Janora do exactly? I don't know. There was light.
Oh, good, because I was like, have I missed something?
No.
Like, what?
No, Janora just did a light thing, and it helped, I think. Unless we both missed something, which is possible. Let's be honest. You know, we're not. You know, we ain't geniuses over here. So stick it in the comments if you know what Janora did, because from what I saw and observed, she fell out of she glowed out of a portal, and then went, here, Korra, some spirit energy, maybe something. Here's something that's going to help. And then Korra was better. Last week it was Avatar harder. This week it's spirit harder. Korra just spirits harder, and then she overtakes, and Vaatu vanishes, which goes against the literal entire premise of this season, or not premise of the season, but the entire premise of Vaatu as a villain, because the idea is you can never fully defeat the darkness, no more than you can defeat the light. So even if there was 10...
Whoa.
What's that?
Whoa, Dan, no, hold on, Dan. No. The idea is you can... Someone's not been paying attention. The idea is you can never defeat the darkness unless you turn into a big blue giant.
Oh, is that the thing?
Yes,
right. Oh,
there's the
God.
dot.
I feel silly.
You missed the dot, and fuck you, by the way, to the. I'm sorry, to the. I've not had much sleep. Maybe that's. I'll hold my hands up now. That could be an effect. But fuck you to the show because they knew. They fucking knew because they put it in there. They literally had a line. Oh, Korra's back, and she's a big blue giant. That to me says they knew on some level that it was Deus Ex Machina bollocks. Because
it's not even that.
Because they put it.
It's not even
they
that.
put it in there.
Deus Ex Machina suggests something occurs, or no, not occurs. Something is given to the hero that helps them win. Korra just thinks hard enough and wins. Like it's such a weird thing that happens. It doesn't even get covered by Deus Ex Machina.
The cosmic. Doesn't she like connect with? I interpret it as like her connecting with like cosmic energy and stuff.
Sure.
Like
do they say that? Is that clear? Is there any?
No. This
is what I'm saying. I don't even know when it's this undefined, and it's this poorly executed. You can't even call it Deus Ex because Deus Ex what, Chris? In the original Avatar, you were saying Deus Ex Turtle because the giant turtle gave Aang extra powers, right? And we can debate that all we like. It still counts. Yeah, we can do it all we like, and we did. But it doesn't change the fact that is an absolutely valid point, right? A thing that was not previously established arrived to help the hero. Yeah? Korra just was better? Tenzin said, be Korra, and she went, got it, and was powerful? Deus Ex Jinora? Are we saying Jinora's the Deus Ex? It's so poorly written. I don't even think that criticism fits.
I was thinking Deus Ex Big Blue Giant. Personally,
like the ability to become a big blue giant. Where does that come from, though? She could just do that.
Oh yeah, no, it's bollocks. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, I was really.
It's a cool visual. I was just gonna say it's a cool visual. I don't want anyone to think I don't think it's a cool visual. Of course, it's a cool visual. Just explain it. Make it work in the rules of the show.
Yeah, it's a cool visual, very similar to things we've seen in the show before.
Is it similar to anything we've seen?
Series 1 of Avatar ended sort of with two big giant spirit things. Like Aang. Didn't Aang become like Super Aang? And fight a spirit,
sort of. No, he didn't fight a spirit. He fought the Fire Nation's army on the shores of the Northern Water Tribe. And what he did was he surrounded himself in water to make himself giant. So he used water bending, I think, and was inside of a big water spirit.
Okay,
and then he kaiju'd a bunch of boats. No, you're right. It is similar. It is visually similar. It's not like it's not the same idea, but it is visually similar.
I agree with you. It looked cool, but like last week, I guess the reason I say that is because last week I had a lot of flaws with the episode last week, but that visual of the darkness taking over, and it they almost animated it like paintings, and slowly. Like the world got destroyed. That visual for me was so awesome that I forgave a lot of the flaws in the episode. That visual to me was like, that's a standout. I guess what I'm saying is, I think this visual looked awesome, but but it still wasn't one of the most unique, visually interesting things I've ever seen on the show. Like last week, where the darkness took over the world, which I did think was one of the most unique visuals. Well, yeah,
I guess what I was more doing was saying, like, for anyone who wants to criticize, like, we're talking a lot about the giant blue Korra kaiju fight with Unalaq / Vatu or Unavatu. I don't know what we call in the thing. I don't know. Whatever that Unalaq Vatu combination is. That fight is like absolute bollocks, and there's no tension to it. There's no stake. Well, there's stakes in the wider sense, but like the individual fight, like you're just seeing colors happen, and you're just like, I don't know. Now they're winning. I don't understand how or why but they are. So the fight itself doesn't feel like it's evolving in a way that like is exciting in any way, shape, or form. But I didn't want to discount before I was trying to get in ahead of the comments, I suppose, of like, oh, but it's at least visually interesting, and acknowledge amongst all of this, admittedly complaining, but amongst all of the issues this has. At least that, from an animation perspective, from a visual perspective, it does look good. It's just that, as you said, it's nowhere near enough to resolve the lack of plot function, the lack of excitement, the lack of logic to it, the lack of any thematic stuff, the lack of character stuff. I mean, it's lacking everything. It is the most poorly executed finale this show has ever had, for sure. But one of the worst ones I've seen in a long time. It's so bad, and I'm scratching my head as to how many years I've gone sort of giving this season a pass because of two very
as I was watching it.
Yeah, it is kind of remarkable now, and again, it really does show you the power of just like casual watching sometimes. There's a few nice jokes. Yes, the visuals are there. I like the core premise of the final moments. I like the idea of the final moments. And, the good guys win. I guess that was bound to happen,
Because actually, I thought that as I was watching. If the finale was an hour, if they strapped these two episodes together, I don't think the complaint would be as big. Because you'd just be like, well, Act 4 was a bit weak. But Act 4 was the entire episode. So, do you know what I mean? I did feel that even watching it. I felt like if I'd seen this as a two-part finale that had been put
which
together,
I think is how it
44-minute episode.
I think that it did air together, part 1, part 2. They aired on the same night.
Yeah, that would have been better. But I'm sat here going, I can only judge this episode.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's the premise of this
episode. Yeah, and this episode was awful.
Yeah.
Just like. She gets the there's so many elements to it. So to dig in a bit, obviously the Blue Giant stuff just feels like such a cop out. It just feels like it's just not solving the problem, other than the nice character arc stuff. And again, I would say a lot of the good from that, the weight comes from the season as a whole and Tenzin. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like
one scene but also episode. But to be fair though, also a very clever choice from the writers to have Tenzin's arc line up so cleanly with Korra's that she's in a place where she needs to accept not being the past avatars and not relying on them. And actually, when you think about it, the one thing I've complained about a lot this season is her overuse of the avatar state, her over-reliance on it. Maybe that was a deliberate choice. Maybe that was a character thing. Maybe they were telling us how much Korra relied on her past. So by taking that from her, that's lent into the Tenzin arc. You know what I mean? Like that Tenzin idea of like not being your past.
I know what you mean, but Blue Giant state is basically just the Avatar state. Do you know what I mean in terms of its function in this?
I know, but it is visually symbolic. It is symbolic that it is taken the form of Korra. It's not taking the form of some big spirit. That's the thematic contrast they've created there. Unalaq merges with his Avatar spirit, and he's a big red and black spirit kaiju. Korra, not leaning on the other avatars, becomes just a blue version of herself, and I do think that's deliberate. I don't think that's an accident. They're saying something with those visual choices for me. Like one's become an unimaginable sort of amorphous red and black sort of Pokemon-looking kaiju, and the other one is taking literally their human form, which is giant. I think that it works, and it works with my complaint about Korra's overuse of the Avatar state. When you think about it in the context of this episode, you go, God, there really was a clever idea at the very baseline of this. The foundation of this is solid, like really solid. That's a great idea, and it is there the whole season, and it links to Tenzin's. And when they both come together in that moment, you go, that is clever. It's a shame nothing else works about it.
It is undeniably clever, and like you say, I love the thematic side of it. But I just think, as a resolution to the problem, Korra finding another way to get big and powerful and have another fight with him is the least interesting thing they could have done.
Right.
As a solution, forgetting all the thematics, forgetting all the plot, stuff weaving together. It just is a base solution to the problem. If you'd have told me last week, Korra's going to find another way to get like all big and be equal to him, instead of just like something else. And the one that really got me, a really powerful death, powerful moment for Rava last week. And, oh no, Rava isn't dead. She's just in there, and they're able to get her back out again, and that destroys him.
Well,
what?
To be fair, that was within the rules, because Rava said in the episode with Wan, and I think again to Korra later on, maybe, Rava said, you can't destroy the light anymore, you can destroy the dark. The reason Vaatu was in a cage for, 10,000 years or whatever, is because you can never completely destroy it. You basically, one will win over the other, 10,000 years of light and or dark, and then eventually the one will come back strong enough to then have a fight to decide who gets the next 10,000 years. That's kind of the ebb and flow of it. Rava was never going to be dead. She can lose, and then she wouldn't be much use for 10,000 years, but she wouldn't be gone, which is why I take such weird exception to what they did with Vaatu at the end, because with that rule established and held to with Rava, where's Vaatu? What? He's gone. Is he gone? Is that not against the thing that was established? Or is he just so weak he's kind of vanished for now, but he'll regain his strength over the next 10,000 years, and maybe then he'll come back? Is that what they're saying? Like, it's very unclear. Especially considering how strongly they developed that rule and set up that rule. So I don't mind Rava being back. They made it very clear you literally can't kill light the same way you cannot kill dark.
I don't mind her being back. It's just it's just execution, man. It's just, oh, no, we're just reach in and grab her, and that will resolve everything. Like, do you know what I mean? It's that. I really like you, I really like the notion that the connection to past lives has gone, that he did, he did destroy that.
Right.
I think that's a really interesting idea.
That's the more interesting consequence, isn't it? Look, Rava being gone doesn't really change anything from our perspective as a viewer. Like, Korra not having Rava, it's like, I don't really know 100% what she... Does that mean she can't bend any other elements again? It's a bit fuzzy what that, is. A bit amorphous, right? But the past lives connection thing is so clear and so defined that it's just like, oh, she's not got that anymore. That's like... Having that severed is, essentially making Korra the first of a new line of Avatar.
Well, the whole show was set up as the whole ending is set up as it's a brand new world, and let me just say and go with me here, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
During lockdown, our boiler broke, and we had to have a whole. You may remember this, yeah. We had to have a whole new boiler put in a new location. Because the boiler was downstairs, and it was allowed to be downstairs as long as it was that boiler, because it was in before we moved in. But the second that boiler broke, had to move it upstairs,
which I imagine made the whole experience a lot more expensive.
Very, very expensive, right? And I remember saying to Jess, and it basically wiped out any money we'd been able to save over lockdown. And I remember saying to Jess said something like, "Oh, well, it will be, something about the temperature." And I was like, "You fucking kidding me? For how much we've spent on this boiler, I want it to feel like the tropics. I want to come home and feel like I'm on holiday. I want it to be so hot in here." And let me tell you now, Dan, if we don't have just scenes where in the background there's spirits dicking about, if we don't have plot lines about the spirits interacting and engaging with the human world and delve into, spirit v human shenanigans, I'm not going to be happy. Okay, great. I actually think it's a brilliant, that notion. And again, very, very Black Panther-esque. The notion of, actually, methodology is completely wrong, but maybe to some degree, the villain had a point. Maybe to some degree, as she says, the Avatar shouldn't be the bridge. So okay, let's change things. Let's change the status quo. Let's have a new world. They better pull the trigger on that, and that better be a part of season 3, or it makes season 2 even worse.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're gonna make that call, then you need to make that call. And you need to make that call, and you do need to sort of use it. So we'll talk about that as we come to the seasons 3 and 4. I mean, I'll say right now, seasons 3 and 4 are nowhere near as criticized as season 2. I don't know if that gives you hope or not for how they'll use it, but I think what's interesting is this idea of humans are going to have to find a way to live with the spirits, and it is I'll be honest with you, Chris. It is one of the two things I've hinted a few times this season that there's two things I think of this season fondly for when I sort of have when I'm casually thinking about Korra. You know, if the show comes up and I'm sort of defending it to people who don't like it, you know, when I think of season 2, and one of the reasons I always had fond thoughts of Varric. Obviously, we talked about Varric a lot this season. Great character, gets a really fun final moment in this series, and you know, he doesn't need to be part of the plot anymore, so they just give him a little bonus Varric moment, which we'll come back to. But the other thing is this choice for Korra to not only become her own avatar, but to immediately show her making a massive change. You know, a massive world-changing or world-shifting choice. That's really cool. Like, what an amazing moment for the show. Because I think it's... Not only is it an interesting thing to be going forward with, how much more symbolic can you get of this avatar is different from the previous avatars by having her do something so bold and so opposing to what the first avatar of the previous line did. So if Korra really is the first avatar of a new version of the avatar, you know, potentially ushering in a whole new era, a new 10,000 years of a different world that's got to slowly learn to live with spirits. That it's just so symbolic of that shift, and it really makes it feel worth it. Because I think if we hadn't had that ending where she makes that choice, you'd be going, all right, she's the first of a new line of avatar, and what does that mean? That means nothing. She's just because the world will carry on. She will be, quote unquote, the avatar. Nothing will actually physically be different. And to say, actually, I think things will be different because she's made such a world-changing choice that really makes it feel like it wasn't just done arbitrarily. You know, they really made the choice to make her the first of a quote-unquote new line of avatar for a reason. And I think that's... I don't know. I love that idea so much. And I'm, you know... I was at the time, and I am now excited to see where that goes, how that plays out.
Yes, I agree completely. I agree. I think that there is some good ideas here.
Do you know what the next book is called?
No, what's the next book called, Dan?
The next book is called Change.
Ooh,
I don't know if
that's good. I like that. I like a broad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that Varric moment, because I think that Varric moment is actually that's the best it's done. But the Varric moment is symbolic of another flaw of the episode for me. So I think that Varric moment was very entertaining. I think it was incredibly funny. I love the idea that he managed to get out and escape, and technically, you know, as a result of a problem he helped cause, and you know, all of that stuff. Yes. So I love the moment, but it's with every character moment here in this episode, it just felt like we just needed more to, like, you know, Tarek, we didn't really, Varric, sorry, whatever his name is, we didn't really see him get his comeuppance this season at all. The Bolin and the twins thing is a fucking mess.
Oh,
and again, it feels
we'll come back to that, because I've got a rant brewing, I feel, about that.
It's a mess. Marco and Korra breaking up makes sense, and it's like, okay, fine, cool, but equally, why did we need the jeopardy of the Asami stuff if we weren't going to do anything at all with that? Let alone the fact that, again, this episode, Asami is sidelined. I don't even remember her being with the daughter who was in the spirit world. That story, we don't really...
Justice
we don't
for
really get to...
Asami.
Justice for Asami. We don't, the daughter story, you know, the Tenzins had a lot of great moments and growth with that. We don't see them talk about it. We don't see those reflected in the moments with them. You know, all of these things, it's like, on the surface it's resolution, but it's not real character resolution. It's not viewer resolution for some of these ideas which they put in there throughout the season.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty poor finale on that front too. You know, you don't really, it doesn't feel like it caps off a lot of the stuff. It feels so open ended, and it's like, I think to a degree with a serialized show that's okay. I think there's a tipping point though. I think and this is me just sort of trying to math a creative medium, but like I do think there's a point you can point to of things you can leave open in a show like this where your audience won't feel bothered. You know what I mean? Like, because they'll go, that's the handful of threads they'll pick up next year. Or next season, whatever that is.
I don't have faith they'll pick up any of the things I just named last.
No, exactly, but that's that. But you're losing faith in this writing team because they've not produced a thing. But in a normal circumstance, in a normal show, there is a point, right? Let's just say it's a show you're enjoying, and there's no big like structural issues or stuff like we're talking about here, where they're like really good ideas executed just horribly, or just like character stuff that doesn't really function. Forgetting all that for a second, just like a normal TV show, I think when you get to a final episode of a season, audiences will allow a percentage of your storylines to not be resolved without question on the grounds of they'll assume you're going to cover it in your next season. But that percentage, I don't know where that lies exactly, but I reckon there is probably a mathematical formula for roughly where that should be. Somewhere like, I don't know, let's say it's good. 60 to 70% of your plots from that season need to be wrapped up. The remaining sort of 30, 20, whatever can be stuff you're going to go, well, we'll come back to because we want to explore that more. And I think this show, it feels like, I don't know, it feels like 50-50 or like 60-40 the other way. And I think that's a problem because you just go like, are you actually going to get back to this stuff? Will we ever get justice for Asami? Will Tenzin and Jinora's relationship come up again? Or is that just done now, even though it feels like it's still quite open-ended because we didn't really get... Like we had a moment of catharsis when they briefly met up in the spirit world last week, but we didn't really get a proper coda to that. Do we not get one? Or is it open because they want to do more with it? Unsure. And in this case, it's especially problematic to have that as an issue because trust in the writers is low. This season was clearly put together very quickly and with not as much thought and care as previous seasons of this show, or previous season of this show, and previous seasons of the original show were. So you sort of go, well, how do I trust that season 3 will do any of that stuff? Because season 2 hasn't exactly demonstrated proficiency in executing these ideas. So yeah, there's a lot going on there, a lot, and you're right. There's so much stuff just left, so much stuff.
I want to hear it, Dan. I want to hear it. Come on, give it to me. Give me your bowling rant.
Okay. Why would you fuck up the episode last week and the clear storyline you'd put in place for Esker and Desna to switch sides? Why would you not pull the trigger on that and then this week have the moment where Korra apologizes for their father's death and then say, look, he was a monster in the end, and that be it? Why the fuck would you have Bolin profess his love to Esker when you already had a built-in reason for Esker to join them? You didn't need to do that if you're not going to do something fucking with it. Because here's the thing, if the plan was to make them a couple, then I would go, fine. That's a circumstance in which that could happen, I guess. Like a couple forced together in the throes of the end of the world. I'm not against that premise. I tell you what I am against, though. Doing that for fucking nothing. Why? Why did they do this? Why set up a thing last week to close off this week across 2 scenes? What was the purpose of this? Why rekindle that romance to kill it here? I don't understand what they're doing here. This is one of the most incompetent choices this show has ever fucking made. It makes 0 sense from a character perspective. It makes 0 sense from a story perspective. And we don't even get a fucking plotline out of it. Because again, I'd be open to going, okay, maybe they just had a really good idea for Bolin and Esker together. And that's going to be for next season, but they wanted to get them back together here so they could do that. Because that was important to them, because they've got a really fun idea for what their relationship could be. Okay, I'll bite. It doesn't fucking work, But okay, let's do that. And then to undo it one episode later, I paused it. I'd forgotten the way it played out. And I paused it when I watched this finale at that point. And I had to take a minute. I had to take a minute. Because I cannot think of a stupider decision. Why do A, if you're not going to pay it off? You just A and Z. We won't bother doing anything in between. Yeah.
We didn't even really get the moment of them turning, did we? We did, like, as in we saw them turn, but we didn't get the big, no, we need to turn and fight against. They just randomly started fighting for the right side, right?
Well, yeah, so last week we got the sort of turn where they released Bolin and Mako.
Yeah.
And then this week they joined the fight, which is sort of an extension of that turn. So yeah, we didn't even get the satisfaction of that. We did get a moment that is kind of a funny idea, which is when, you know, Esker and Bolin come together in the fight, and he says he loves her, and she's like, let's face the end of the world together. But that's only good if you're going to do something with it after that. If you tell me the two characters are going to exchange I love yous and let's face the end of the world together, and then 4-5 minutes later we're going to have a character say this line, eternal darkness was upon us, I became caught up in the moment. What a fucking confused mess.
It was the caught up in the moment thing that really got me, because again, it just smacked of the writers going, and I'm not saying they definitely did do this, but this is what you're led to believe, or what I feel you're led to believe by that, which is the writers going, oh, that's a bit of a mess, isn't it? Yeah, well, let's just acknowledge it then. Let's acknowledge it by saying, oh, well, we got caught up in the moment. But no, that's not good.
But the solution was so much easier. This is what breaks my mind, is they've bent over backwards to try and make that work, reverse engineer-wise. Just cut it from the previous episode. Don't bend over backwards and you know, try and touch your own toes here. Let's not do acrobatics to make this work. Just go back to the previous episode and have Esker and Desna convinced just by the sheer obvious evilness of their father, rather than the Bolin admitting he loves Esker thing. Then you don't have to do any of the backflipping in this episode.
And then have Bolin and them just go, oh, actually, you know what? We could be friends. We're not in love, but let's be friends.
Fucking beautiful, Chris. Swish. Nothing but net, mate. Great. Perfect. And that's easier than what they've done. So what they've done was infinitely harder to try and pull off and was horrendous. What we've just suggested, and we are, it's worth clarifying, we're not professional writers. We're not in the circumstances they were. We have the benefit of hindsight. I don't want to try and make it sound like I know better than these writers. Just to clarify. But what we've just suggested is 1,000 times easy to execute, and is 100 times better. No, it's 1,000 times. They're both 1,000. Give it 1,000. So I don't know what the fuck happened here, Chris. I genuinely don't. My head spins at the thought of those scenes, both last week and this week. What the fuck were they doing? And that's not even getting to Asami, because let me tell you, Chris, we haven't actually. Right, this is going to sound bold. We haven't had a Knobhead of the week or Knobhead Hall of Fame entry this year on this season. Fine, we don't need to. Not every season needs to have one. I would like to propose, though, Chris, we add the writers for, very specifically, Asami.
Yeah.
I can be as mad as I want about those other choices, but what's going on here? Where's Asami?
Yeah. I feel so bad for Asami. They just don't... I tell you what, honestly, if you've got a plan for her later... Fine, bring her back for season 3. Don't have her in season 2.
Yeah, right. If
you didn't do anything, just don't put her in there, or put her in as a cameo in the first episode with the Varric stuff. Put her in there, and then she goes off, and write her out. Don't do this. It's awful.
Yeah, it's dead simple. It's dead simple to not have her in the show. Just she's not involved. And here's the thing: you got people, and I can hear listeners. I can hear it. I can hear the little tippy tappies happening on keyboards right now. Yeah, the Varric plot does tie into Asami, so maybe that's where you give her cameo. Have a few of the Varric,
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
A few bits of the Varric, but don't give her really meaty ideas, such as the betrayal of Mako feeling like the betrayal of her father, and then not do anything with it. Don't just have her be there to be an emotional support animal for Mako when he's sad because Korra's broken up with him, and Bolin when he's sad because his brother doesn't, him and his brother have kind of fallen out and he's a bit sad about that. She's not here to support the character. She is a character in her own right, and she deserves to either fucking have a plot, or if you don't have a plot for her, just say she's off living her life. Don't do her dirty like this, because this is horrendous. I'd have to go back. I'm curious if Asami is anywhere in this episode, even visually.
Yeah, she is. She's sat there when, is it Jinoro comes back to the real world? Jinora. So she sat there with Katara, I'm pretty sure.
With Katara?
Sorry, with, yeah. No.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, Katara. Yeah.
Why is Katara in Republic City?
She's not. Is it Jinoro's the little girl, his daughter, yeah?
Yeah.
She's not. She's still in the bath, in the Water Nation, being looked after by
Oh, of course.
Katara.
Sorry, when you said Jinora, I thought you meant it was when Jinora showed up to make Korra Avatar harder with light. I thought you were talking about that moment, not...
No, when she returned. When
Right. When Jinora wakes back up. Right. Oh, my laptop's making noises. That's fun.
So I'm just double checking, but I'm pretty sure Asami
you might be right.
Katara.
Here we go. So Jinora, I'll see you soon, Dad. Tenzin reaches out for Jinora, but she disappears before she can do so. Korra's projection also dissipates and she returns to her body. Cut to the healing hut. When Jinora awakens from her coma, she turns to smile at Asami and her grandmother Katara, who approaches her to give her a hug. Gran,
yeah,
I missed you.
7.
Oh my god, Asami gets a line, Chris. I'm sorry. Hold the phone. One line of dialogue. Asami says, "What about Korra and the others?"
There you go. Doesn't that fucking sum up Asami's character this season?
What about
Korra and the others? What about all the other characters that aren't me?
Right, I'm doing it. Not Bad Hall of Fame. The writers for doing Asami dirty. It's happening. I'm doing it. I'm sorry. I don't care. That's fucking outrageous.
Justice for Asami.
Justice for Asami.
Because I don't remember her being in there. I don't remember her saying she was going to wait in the healing hut. Like, do you know what I mean? I just don't... I literally, when she appeared, I was like, oh, Asami's there.
I'm glad you fucking noticed her, because, clearly I was too busy watching, Jinora interact with her grandmother. I just clearly missed Asami's presence, even though she has a line.
Asami was if memory serves, but Team Avatar was there when they took her to Katara, weren't they? Which means, did Asami just leave the others to go off and fight? That doesn't fit with the character from season 1.
Yeah, they were like, okay, Asami, we're going to go off and save the world. You stay here and watch... I don't know.
If you're not watching this bathtub...
Can you watch this girl that's in a coma for us? Well, isn't Katara doing that? Yeah, but, we don't really want you around.
And her parents. Mate, her parents are there as well.
Jesus. That's not good, is it? That's pretty bad, isn't it, Chris? I don't want to sound
Justice
like a
for Asami.
That's awful, right?
Knobhead Hall of Fame. Done.
Yeah. And here's the thing, right? I don't want anyone to think, oh, how snippy. The writers have got in the Knobhead Hall of Fame. Look, I get it. I understand. I'm not putting them in for everything, because I don't think that's fair. Obviously, you don't know the circumstances it was written under. There may have been a multitude of reasons the show ended up like this, from production issues to time to money to, all that stuff, right? So I want to make it very clear. I'm not throwing them in for the whole season. But they did do Asami dirty. And there's no excuse for that. So that's the one that's what they're going in the little timeout box for. That's think about what you've done. Sit in the corner, back to the room, and think about what you've done.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah.
What you got? You got other notes? Like
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure I have. Just from a dialogue perspective, the laziest thing ever. Bolin, who has never shown interest in Korra's avatar powers, so they'd be like, "Oh, can't you just connect to your past lives at the beginning?" Very conveniently to set up Korra's response of "No, they're gone." So weird.
Yes,
It's just a weird bit of dialogue.
Even at the end when Tenzin was like, Are you able to connect again with your past lives? And she's like, no. I was like, when did these two discuss that she couldn't?
So when was the Bolin scene? Bolin asks Tenzin is present, so that's where it comes up.
Oh, okay.
And then Tenzin takes her into that tree where she sees her past.
Yeah.
Do you remember the magic tree? Do you remember the magic tree, Chris?
I do, Dan. The magic tree is going to haunt me when I sleep.
Meditate in the magic tree. You know what? Actually, I think you could argue the magic tree is the Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, Deus Ex tree. That's
Deus
fine.
Ex tree. Yeah, because you could say, oh, well, the tree showed up in earlier episodes. Vaatu was trapped in that. I'm like, yeah, but the sudden Tenzin, well, you know, Korra, this tree is actually a special tree for meditating, and if you meditate under it, you'll have access to memories and powers and blah 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 and nonsense that we haven't previously established. That's a Deus Ex tree. No, I'm saying it. Deus Ex tree. I'm with you. Out of curiosity, Chris, was it budgetary reasons that Unalaq / Vaatu attacked Republic City? Because neither of the portals are there. Is that just a coincidence? You just showed up Republic City, the place that the previous season was mostly set. He could have turned up anywhere in the world, right? And tried to destroy it.
Well, logically, that's a really good point. Logically, Dan, wouldn't he have gone to the Southern Water Tribe?
Yeah, or I'd taken either Southern or Northern because the portals are on each side. Fine, but yeah.
No. But just from him, his character, he's had nothing to do with Republic City.
Yeah,
like. Dodgy Rock is surely going to want to destroy the other water tribe.
Yeah, although I think he has control of that, I guess. So you could argue that'll be a bit like, you know, blowing up your own. Because he's at that point, he has successfully overtaken the water tribe, hasn't he? The southern one. So I guess that would be shooting himself in the foot to some degree. But yeah, no, I agree. It doesn't make any sense.
I just think that's easily solved. Just have him be a bit snippy about Republic City early on in the season, you know?
Yeah, like when Republic City's, like, when there's talk of Republic City's army massing, even before the president says no, he's like, you know, Republic City is the first thing I'll fucking step on when I'm more powerful. You know, just proper villain nonsense, you know. Like, what Republic City stands for is everything I'm against, you know, something like that. Yeah, pick from a hat of generic villain nonsense. But yeah, anything would have been better than nothing, because it does seem weird. And it is just a budget thing, I think. I'm 90% sure that's just they couldn't afford another location. And it doesn't, I guess you could argue it doesn't make sense he would attack the water tribes because he is the chief of those. So, where else are you going to send him, I guess? But yeah, it was strange to me. Just a coincidence that he picked that. At least he didn't go for the Aang statue. If there had been another season finale that ended with the Aang statue being attacked in some way, that would have... Yeah, anyway.
The Aang statue was attacked.
Was it?
Yeah, well done.
Oh, maybe it was.
I'm sure the Aang statue was attacked.
I won't rule that out. While you're looking that up...
Search. Do you mind just search the script for statue? Because I'm having to scroll through the whole episode.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Searching
this transcript would be quicker, wouldn't it? 1 second. That's what I did earlier. Statue... Oh, yeah, he wraps his tendrils around the statue of Aang before bringing it to the sea. Oh, for fuck's sake. 2 seasons in a row. I didn't even know. Oh, man. Shows what my brain was at. Jesus. Right.
It was just before the prison thing, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I was saying. My next note is actually... Oh, for God's sake. 1 sec. The Notes app has decided to fail. Which has taken me to the Apple Home News page and allowed me to see the Donald Trump mugshot once more. So that's fun. I've been enjoying... That image is my favourite image right now. It's great.
I really thought you were going to say your phone background there.
Oh my God, I should make it my phone background. So good. Anyway, It's fine, Chris. He lost 4 stone overnight, apparently, according to his self-reported weight. Don't worry about it. He's a skinny man, Chris. He's a skinny, tall man with big muscles. Don't worry about it. And he's definitely got human skin tones. Don't worry about it. And he definitely didn't practice that pout for the entire week leading up to this moment. Anyway, I've just got images of him in the mirror.
Pout, isn't it?
Look angry, but also strong. Anyway, Verex's escape, which was the next thing in my notes before my notes app died. That's really fun. I love that, you know, that he takes the opportunity of the wall being broken, and it's Julie, do the thing. And like she jumps on his back with a jetpack that turns into wings, and they just fly away. It's so ridiculous and so Varric, and I love it so much. It's great. Never a dull moment with Varric. What a great character. Let's see, anything else. Kaiju Korra. I wrote Kaiju Korra, sure, because spirits. Oh, I do love, there's a really good joke I wrote down, because this episode does some funny moments, one of them being when Tenzin and Korra are going to the tree, then Tenzin comes out, Korra stays to meditate, and then giant spirit kaiju Korra comes out, touches the portal, zaps away, and Boomy is watching this, and he just turns to Tenzin's like, what did you say to her exactly?
Yeah.
And she's a great moment.
I enjoyed that a lot more than Korra's back and she's a big blue giant.
Yes. Yeah.
Why are they in? Hold on. Why?
Yeah.
Why are they in Republic City? Why? Hold on. Why are Korra's parents with Katara and their daughter, and they're in Republic City? What? Until, by the way, it gets attacked for this moment, has had nothing to do with the action.
Yeah, so Pema and the other kids are back in Republic City for some reason. My assumption is that when Tenzin was leaving to go to the Southern Water Tribe to help Korra so he could help, you know, get Jinora back, that he sent Pema and his kids to Republic City as a... Because a fair bit of time passed with us not really seeing.
I cannot. No. Why would they not be? Why would she not be with her daughter? Why would they not be with their sister? Korra's parents are there.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you're right. But where is that? I mean, where is that location? It's somewhere in the Southern Water Tribe, I assume. Or nearby.
Yeah, I assume it's the Southern Water Tribe. Yeah, because they're when they first go to Katara, she's helping the wounded from the battles.
So I have a potential answer. Jinora gets brought there by Tenzin last episode because he. So basically, here's what happened. So this is my. You tell me if this passes your smell test of explanations, because I am fansplaining. The episode doesn't make it very clear, but. They're off on their holiday. Jinora goes into the spirit world and doesn't come back, right? Tenzin takes Jinora to Katara for healing. Do you remember? That was last episode, and we questioned why Katara was first. That, yeah. But when he goes to do that, that's in the Southern Water Tribe. Southern Water Tribe currently at war. Do you not think it's plausible that Tenzin picks up Jinora's body and goes, look, I'm going to take her for help, the best help she can get. The safest place for the rest of you is Republic City. Obviously not realising it was about to be attacked by a giant kaiju, which is, you know, who could have predicted that? We think it's weird he chose Republic City, so, you know. So I think it's not inconceivable that Tenzin would have gone, you can't help her anymore. There's no point in all of you going towards where the Southern Water Tribe is, where war is happening. You guys head back to Republic City. I'm going to take Jinora to someone who can get her help. Does that pass the smell test as an explanation?
Yes, but it does. But she's a mother. Do you know what I mean? The notion of that just seems bizarre to me.
Yeah, no, I agree that it's kind of strange that she didn't want to go with, and I think in a better told story maybe she would have, but this is what we got, and I think it just about works for me as an explanation. It is a bit fansplainy. The show doesn't cover it, but that yeah, I can see you're not completely convinced.
No, but yeah, fine, whatever. I mean, but it's also not. Do you know what I mean? It's not the biggest crime.
Yeah, right. It is a very minor problem in the wider element of this. But yeah, the comedy there doesn't work. All the stuff with, Milo saying weird shit about what's going on in front of him, that never really works for me. Not a huge fan of the Milo character up to now. So yeah. So Korra and Mako have their breakup. We haven't talked about this in any detail. This is probably one of the last notes I really have. I just, you know what else? This is another Justice for Asami moment. No mention of Asami at all. No reference to the fact that Mako kind of was with Asami during that time.
Yep.
No Mako going to Asami and being like, let's be together. Now that I've dropped Korra. Did they officially break up? Do we know? I don't know.
We don't know, man.
What's their status right now? Is him breaking up with Korra part of like him making it up to Asami that he didn't immediately tell Korra, and now he's going to go back to Asami and be like, I've told her now. She understands. We've cleared it all up. We're free to be together? Or is it both of these things have imploded? Presumably the Asami thing off screen, because why give Asami stories or lines of dialogue? No point.
I mean, check the script, but if I'm honest, I would say Korra breaks up with him more than the other way round.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I think it feels like they both kind of
he tells her that they broke up and she can't remember. So
yeah. I've got the dialogue here. Let's take a look. I'm curious now. Who dumps who? This is a fun thing to work out. There's something I wanted to say about the fight I had. I know I said I wasn't that bad, but that's not exactly true. I broke up with you. She's like, I remember. She explained the Tree of Time brought it back. She says she's sorry for blowing up with you. And then he says, that's okay. I think we both said things we'd regret. She's like, why don't you tell me the truth in the first place? I should have, but I didn't want to hurt you all over again. I guess past me wanted to forget about the breakup too. I think we both know that us, doesn't work. And he replies, you're right. And then she says, it's over. For real this time. So, yeah, I mean, she definitely breaks up with him. She's the one that says it's over. And she's the one that says it doesn't work. But he agrees. Like, he doesn't fight that.
Oh, yeah, it's a mutual breakup. Yeah, it's a mutual breakup, I think.
Yeah. Korra gets to throw the punch, I suppose, physically speaking, in terms of like she's the one who says those words. But, oof. Right.
No, I'd say that was mutual.
Yeah. But still, yikes.
Should we?
I don't know. Do we have anything to say on that other than that? I hope that's done for good.
Oh God! Oh yeah, I hope that's done for good. Yeah. No, absolutely. I look forward to them both being in two separate love triangles over the next couple of years.
Yay!
Like, yeah.
Oh, we're in for some fun.
Fine.
We're in for some fun there.
I honestly, I think before we trip, I think in general, I stand by what I said earlier. Some really interesting character ideas, poorly executed. You know, in terms of it is the finale, in terms of the season as a whole, I think there's some stuff to enjoy, but I can see why fans don't like this season.
Yeah, I'm faced with the same conclusion. I think there are good episodes. It starts reasonably strong, but I think with any plot that's got interesting ideas, starting it's never the problem. If the idea is interesting, doing that initial surface level, here's what the idea is, which is how a plot starts. I mean, the way stories work, you sort of you set it up, then you pay it off. Setting it up, if the idea is good, should pretty much come together on its own accord. Pretty much. Like, you don't, obviously there are ways to execute and implement that information in a bad way. A bad writer can really fuck that up. But, assuming you're even halfway competent, you can usually set the idea up quite well. Paying it off is usually the struggle, because that comes down to actually exploring the idea, saying something interesting about it, and using it as a way to push your characters into interesting scenarios that force them to confront themselves. That part is where this season fell down, and that really is the tricky part. So it's not a shocker that the first couple episodes of the season we were like, yeah, these are pretty good, we're enjoying this. Because this was like, here's the setup, these are the ideas. They're good ideas. I like these ideas. Thumbs up. It's then when it actually goes into attempting to explore them that it all falls down, and you realise how shallow it kind of ends up being. I think they fundamentally failed to execute, and I think it really does come down to plot and character and not marrying the two. And maybe biting off a little more than you could chew concept-wise, because maybe if we'd nixed a couple of those ideas, a little bit of pruning, maybe we'd have had more time to marry the two things then. We'd have had a simpler ideas, stripped back slightly, that we could then like actually put the pieces together in a way that would have been more satisfying. But it is just the lack of either being relevant to one another, except for in really passing surface level ways, and that is really the biggest flaw, because otherwise, the visuals are good, the fights are usually pretty good. I mean, this season suffered from a couple of like quite generic fights, but that's a production thing, I think. The music's good, the characters are still likable, they still say nice funny things at times. I just, on the whole, didn't come together for me, and I assume you echo that thought.
Yeah, for sure. In that case, Dan, let's triv it up.
We're going to give you some trivia for the last time this season. The large-scale battle between Korra's astral projection and the Dark Avatar evokes movies such as Clash of the Titans, Pacific Rim, and Godzilla. Yeah, so it's a kaiju fight. They did a traditional kaiju fight, which, by the way, right, if you're sitting down to me and we're plotting out a season of Avatar, and you go, well, we've had two people bending at each other as our finale several times. Can we figure out a way to make it a big kaiju fight? Is that different? On a basic level, I go, yeah, it's different. You got anything interesting you want to do with that? Anything symbolic about that? Anything character-wise about that? Why are we doing that? Other than just because it's cool. Then I'm on board, and that is again the problem. There's nothing wrong with it being a kaiju fight. It's just they don't justify it. That's the issue. It never felt like it needed to be there. It just felt like a random thing they pulled out their backside, so it'd be slightly different to previous finales. The section of the theme Jinora's Light, which is the musical theme that plays as Korra meditates and forms the astral projection, is itself a variation on a short piece that plays at the beginning of Azula and Zuko's Agni Kai during Sozin's Comet Part 3. So, to phrase that in a way that is maybe slightly less confusing, there's a piece of music when Zuko and Azula fought in Sozin's Comet, the finale of the show, and there is a variation of that is used in this episode when Korra's meditating. I don't think there's any thematic link there. I just think it was like piece of music they liked.
Fair play.
Yeah. Although it feels like in the original series, if there'd been a music choice where they pulled back an old theme, it would have been for a specific reason. Like there'd have been some thematic reason to use that piece of music. Like the two characters' arcs matched or something.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Anyway.
But I can't think of what that... I can't fansplain that into it.
I could try, because is Zuko in that moment when he's fighting Azula... And this is very thin, but is Zuko in the moment when he's fighting Azula learning a similar lesson about not trying to be what he thinks he should be? This man of the Fire Nation. The image of himself he had that was making his father proud, and instead by beating Azula, he's becoming his own man with his own. You could argue he made that choice earlier in the show when he chose to join the Avatar, but that's the moment he puts his stamp on it and actually executes by defeating Azula. And then in this episode, obviously, we play it while Korra is meditating, thinking on that very idea herself of being her own Avatar. You could kind of link them. It's thin, though, because the idea is thin. But yeah, there you go. When Mako, Tenzin, Kaya, and Bolin are trying to ward off the frenzied spirits, they bend elements in the order in which they appear in the Avatar cycle. So fire, air, water, and earth, respectively, although it's worth noting Mako's is actually lightning, not fire. Excuse me, but he's a firebender, so yeah. Apparently, this is the second time the franchise has done this, where they've had, a bender of each type, and then they've used them in the cycle. But apparently, it happened in the chase from Book 2 of The Last Airbender during the confrontation at Tuzin, which is the town they all fight at the end of that episode. Good episode. The title is a callback to Unalaq's advice to Korra in The Southern Lights on how to open the portal, the light in the dark. That's why this episode is called that. That's fine. When animating the shot of Korra flying through the spirit lights, Studio Mir based it off visual reference from the Stargate sequence from 2001: A Space Odyssey, which works. Everything from the angle to the choice of the colors and stuff going flying by does look a lot like that. If you're going to nick from something, definitely nick from 2001: A Space Odyssey, 100%. The clash in light and color between Unalaq/Vaatu and Korra's energy beams is a visual callback to the fights Aang and Zuko had with Ozai and Azula in the series finale of The Last Airbender. If you remember rightly, there was lots of colors flying by as they were fighting then too. So fine, visual reference, again, not a thematic one. Given the vague nature of Mako and Asami's breakup, the creators decided to have Korra and Mako's breakup be more definitive. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I do feel that's done. I think it will be more love triangle bullshit, but with other characters. I hope.
Yeah. Oh, my Notes app has crashed again. So I've always been on Macs, so I've used the Apple Notes software, and all of my formats for having notes for these, with all the headings for each thing, each section of each show that we do. So on Avatar Notes, I've got a trivia section and the notes for the episode section, and feedback from last series section, and the Raphodraws stuff, and all the Nobbed Hall of Fame, for reference. So when I switched last year or earlier this year, whenever that was, when my laptop broke, to Windows, I was like, oh fuck, all my notes are gone. And then I realized, oh no, it's Cloud Notes. So I just logged in on my browser, and I have access to all the notes that were from my Mac, and I can edit them and keep using them, and I've been doing that. But it's way less stable. They really want me to go buy another Mac, don't they? They really, really want me to buy another Mac.
Of course they do. Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, you can access your notes on a Windows computer. It's a bit shit, but you can do it.
Technically.
Yeah. So yeah, fuck you, Apple. I won't be buying another one of your shitty fucking laptops. You'd have to do a lot of work to win me back as a customer, I'll tell you that. Right, let's see. Okay, yeah, so next bit, Chris, feedback from last series. Now I've got my notes back up. Do you want to do, for the final time this series, Chris, give us an epic song, for the finale. It needs to be big, Okay. That's the mandate this week.
Okay. Down. Feedback from listeners that we have only just got a chance to respond to.
Wow, that was something. Your neighbours must think you're mentally ill.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Your neighbours must be thinking, I hope Jess is hooking him up with some therapy. That boy's got issues.
I mean, you joke, but
they must genuinely think you're insane.
I think there are genuine moments where I'll be ranting to you about a show, ranting to someone about work, and I'll just think not necessarily about work, but you know what I mean, when getting frustrated during the working day, if working from home or whatever. And yeah, I definitely have moments where I'm like, God, I hope they don't think that this is me talking to Jess. Do you know what I mean? Or even I've been rehearsing lines recently, and there's a lot of yelling in that, and I'm like, God, the neighbours must think I'm a real Jekyll and Hyde character. Who is almost exclusively in pajamas.
Amazing. I have nothing to add to that other than, let us know if they ever have you sectioned. Is that a thing you can still do? Can you still have a person sectioned? I don't know if that's a thing anymore, but either way, let me know.
Yeah.
Updates coming. If they ever give you one of those like concerned, sympathetic looks while you're out putting your bins out or whatever, let me know.
Oh, that would probably just be because I usually do that in pajamas.
That's fair. Oh, I tell you what, mate, that's better than what's fucking happening at my flats at the moment. So outside of my window, I keep finding little bags of cat shit because the neighbours above us can't be asked to take the cat shit out, so they just drop it out the window.
Fucking hell! Have you said anything to them?
No, I did nearly lob one back through their window the other day. No, I'm speaking to because our building is owned by, it's all one company. We're all letting from the same company, so I'm complaining to them. But it's ridiculous. It's one of the most insane things I've ever seen. It's both deeply gross, but also incredibly lazy, and also a really shitty thing to do. Like just to go down the steps. You've got to do it, right? Like. It's not ideal, but just what you got to do, because sometimes they land in the little road bit in front, and then they get run over, and it's just grim.
Oh, that's so grim.
It's the grimmest thing. So yeah, I hope they can hear me. You fuckers hear me? I hope you can. You're gross.
That's so
Take your
grim.
fucking cat shit out. Maybe they can. Maybe they can hear. Maybe they can't.
I'd love it if just a slew of cat shit like starts
but
raining
genuinely, I came back from work late the other night, and it was like 2 a.m, and there was one on the ground, and I nearly was like, do I go into the house, get like a glove or something, and then just because their window was like open, I was like, I could throw it back through the window from the ground. It's not that high up. I could do 2 shots at most, and I'd have it in the window. The window is quite widely open, and I really thought about it.
That's just the height of that's almost like, well, don't have a cat, ladies.
Right?
Do you know what I mean?
Don't have the cat. You obviously don't want to look after it properly. Yeah, 100%.
And what's also bad about that is you have a cat, so there might be people that think it's you.
Yeah, true, absolutely true. Yeah. We started noticing them, and we weren't really sure where it was coming from. We were just like, why are these out here? And then Nadia went to the bins one time, and the bins were locked. So she went round the corner to use these other bins, because sometimes the people lock them. And then as she was coming back, she heard a little plop and looked up, and the window was open. And she was like, okay. So, yeah.
That is
useless.
Madness.
Terrible people. Anyway, feedback from last series. That is not the feedback from last series. Yeah. That is very much Dan's rant of the week. No, I think Dan's rant of the week this week was the Esker stuff, to be honest. I was so angry about that.
Yeah, quite rightly.
So angry about that. Anyway, so this comes from Ninjak11 through our YouTube channel. So if you have feedback, of course, you can have the YouTube channel, leave some feedback. Or if you're on our Discord, or mail@thermostallic.co.uk. You do any of those things, next season we'll refer. So anything from this season we've said that you've not agreed with, or you have agreed with, or you have thoughts on, stick it in one of those comment sections, and we may cover your comment in next year's feedback from last series. But this one comes from Ninjak.
Yeah,
this is actually... Go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, we're definitely going to keep doing it. I think we both really enjoy it. So, yeah, keep commenting away.
Yeah, and I think it does allow us to, I think that the initial... as the season's gone on and we've moved through last year's feedback and started doing a bit of both, it's been less essential. But I really did feel last year, we did those 10 episodes and we recorded them before any of them got released, and we had no chance to respond to anything anyone was saying. It was a really useful tool, to be able to actually cover some of those topics. And clarify some stuff. This one's a good one, though, because I also slightly, a tiny little bit, God damn it, Ninjak, you made me go back and double-check stuff, but I love this one. So Ninjak says, I'm pretty sure it was the arena they've converted into a cinema. Now, this is referencing my comments in episode 77 of this podcast, The Sting. Now, I was talking about, where did they get a movie theatre from? Out of nowhere, right? They just have a movie theatre now, even though movies have just been invented. Now, later in the season, when it comes to the premieres for Nuktuk and stuff that we see, in Night of 1,000 Stars, that is definitely the arena from Pro Bending. They've hung up a screen, and they're playing the movie. I went back to double check just to make sure. It is definitely not the arena in the Sting. It's an actual movie theater, square walls. The arena is completely round. Keep in mind. The box that they're in has a big gargoyle on the front. The gargoyles in the arena. There are none. There's a weird gargoyle head on it. There's a bunch of people on the ground level, on the floor, which when they're doing in the arena you can't do because obviously the water and then the platform for the bending is there, and the screen is on a upper wall, is against a wall in a very square space, whereas here it's hanging from the ceiling, not against a wall. In the arena stuff. So, no, it's not in the arena in that first episode. Yeah, still question where they got a theatre from. Movies have just been invented, had a cinema at the ready. Weird.
They've got one prepped.
They had one prepped. Varric was very forward-thinking. Which I guess is in character, to be fair.
Fair play to you, Dan, for going back and looking, my friend.
Well, it's just one of those things where they said that, and I remember thinking, because I remember at the time, obviously, we hadn't gotten to like the premieres at the arena yet, and I'm not sure if I just held my tongue, or if I said, spoiler alert, Chris, in future they use the arena, which makes sense. Or if I just said nothing, because you hadn't seen it yet, in which case I didn't cover. In which case I didn't cover myself off for this exact message. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Ninjak, that they do use the arena. It's like the writers realised after putting that episode out, it doesn't really make any sense. There's a cinema, so we'll use the arena going forward. And then the next 2 times we do it, it's in the arena. But that first time, it is absolutely not. I looked through the shots. There's a bunch of reasons it's not the same space. So yeah, just a weird little cinema that they have for some reason. So cool.
Fair play.
There you go. Feedback from last series.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ninjak, for the comment.
There
I do appreciate it. It gave me an opportunity to clarify for anyone who's thinking the same thing as you, but hadn't said it.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah.
Our next, obviously, we've got more Analysing Avatar coming up with season 3, but before then, same feed. We got on YouTube. We got Rewind reviews. We got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If people are desperate for our thoughts on that, Dan, they can get it a week early if they're not already a Patreon member, can't they?
Well, they can, but there's a gap, so that's not going to quite.
Oh yeah,
play
I
out
forgot
here
we were
because,
doing
and also the next one is Clerks.
Fucking hell. Fuck that completely. Leave that in. That's fine.
So, yeah, no, it's fine. So basically, yeah, so this will be releasing on the 17th of October. This is Light in the Dark. There's going to be a 4 or 5 week gap, I'm afraid, for listeners, because we had a real struggle getting some of these recorded in a timely fashion, and we fell a bit behind. So we've given ourselves some leeway by taking a few weeks off. But Rewind Reviews will be back in on the 28th of November, starting with Clerks. But on the 21st of November, if you're on our Patreon, you get that a week early. So if you want to hear that a week earlier than the current date to listen to us review Clerks, the Kevin Smith movie from 1994, you can do so over at our Patreon, patreon.com/NothingButStaticUK. And of course, as Chris has just mentioned, the episode after, we're covering the original 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which should be really fun. We actually haven't recorded that one yet. We're actually recording that a little bit later today. So that should be fun.
Sure. Did I enjoy Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles more than this episode of Korra? Tune in to find out.
The answer has got to be yes. I can't imagine. Because even if you didn't really love the film, and just clarify, I don't think Chris has ever seen it, and I enjoyed it as a kid, but I'm very worried it doesn't hold up. I would still put money on it, even in a world where you didn't care for it, you're still enjoying it more than this episode of Korra.
Yeah. Well, you'll find out later, won't you?
I will. I'll find out a little bit later today. But for those of you who are just waiting on Korra returning, Book 3 Change will be starting that in February on the 13th. So the little Valentine's pre-Valentine's surprise, Valentine's Eve, 13th of February for A Breath of Fresh Air, which is the first episode of that season, and the 86th episode of this goddamn podcast. That's mad.
There you go.
So yeah, and obviously, and again with that one as well, the week before on the 6th of February for our Patreons. So if you want to join our Patreon, you're welcome to do that. Little as $1 a month gets you access to episodes of this and Rewind Reviews a week early, as we mentioned, but it also gives you access to our Discord where you can leave feedback and interact with us if you're interested in that sort of thing. It also gives you access to our bonus content, which is at the moment it's called Nothing But Lyrics, and is a little podcast where we analyze the lyrics of songs and decide if they mean anything or if they're meaningless, or sometimes we just make fun of them, and that's also really fun. So yeah, there's been some good episodes of that. People should check it out. Of course, if you want to support us in a non-financial way, you can do us a few a few things. Keep listening. That's the main one. That's great. If you'd like to be a bit more involved than that, but not as involved as money, there is middle options, which is to like and subscribe and review to our podcasts and content. Oh, shudder at the word content every time. You can do that. You can interact with all that stuff. That tells the algorithm of the whatever platform you're using that you enjoyed it and makes it more likely to share it with others. So yeah, that's a big help for us too. You can also tell a friend. So yeah, reviews, likes, pokes, stars, whatever, and then telling friends. Obviously, commenting does help as well. Actually, the little challenge for you guys: just stick a comment under one of the YouTube videos. Doesn't even have to be anything. It could be just what you ate for breakfast. There you go. So tell us what you ate for breakfast underneath this video.
I genuinely would love to know what people ate for breakfast.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that, because what I've realised is the algorithm does also count engagement, and engagement is everything from likes and views to comments. So fuck it. Let's be those guys and directly encourage people to comment. Tell us what you ate for breakfast.
I can't wait.
And then maybe next year, maybe the first feedback from last series, we'll go through some of the answers. We'll read a few of them.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about
feedback for the feedback we didn't get to yet. Assessing the breakfasts.
Yeah, why not? Do it. Yeah. Breakfasts in the comments. Let's get to it. But other than that, and you can put them anywhere. On the YouTube channel is the most helpful, but you can also, send them on Discord if you've got it, or mail at nothingbatstatic.co.uk if you want to do it that way. But yeah, ideally on like YouTube, that really helps. So yeah, so there you go. That's everything, Chris. I can't believe we've done
everything.
We've done it.
That's the stuff. Korra season 2 done. I look forward to, by all accounts, brighter season 3.
Yeah, I'm fairly confident we'll enjoy season 3 a lot more. Season 3 might be my favourite. I think season 3 is my favourite.
Indeed.
I think it's my favourite of these three seasons. 4 seasons, sorry. 4 is pretty good. Yeah, and it's somewhere in that region for sure. It's a contender. So yeah, come back to see if that holds up, and I don't discover that I actually dislike it for some reason. Because that's a distinct possibility now, isn't it? So yeah, but back on February 13th next year for more of that. And in the meantime, obviously, you guys can continue enjoying our stuff on other platforms, Nothing But Static, our main TV podcast, and of course, Rewind Reviews. But that has been everything for this series. I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham.
And that's everything for this series. How do I end this? How does this one end? Oh yeah, come back next time when we review Book 3, Change. I got it in the end.
Boom. Flawless.
Flawless. I'll fix it in the edit. No, I won't. I'm too lazy for that.